ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عداوتهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الحكيم وهو أصدق القائلين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin in the name of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. There is no doubt that it's due to His kindness and generosity that He gives us opportunities such as these where we gather in remembrance and in glorification of Him Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Next, we'd like to send our heartfelt condolences to our 12th and living Imam, Imam al-Hujja, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And to each and every one of you as we gather this evening to commemorate the istishhad anniversary of our second Imam, Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. Our second Imam alayhi salam was born on the 15th of Shahrul Ramadan. It is part of our midpoint in the month of Ramadan where we celebrate the birth of the Imam, at the same time analyze our month of blessings to see if we have progressed any so far. I always use that as a personal benchmark when that wiladat comes, to see that what have I done the first 15 days of the month of Ramadan and how we can improve in the second half of the month of Ramadan. The shahadat of the Imam alayhi salam happened on the 7th of Safar, which is the night. Tonight is the 7th of Safar in the year 50 after Hijrah. And therefore you look at the life of the Imam, it was a relatively short life. It was only 46 years old that the Imam was at the time of his shahadat. And when you think about that, especially considering when you look at the tariq and the history, approximately the first 7 or 8 Imams got a chance to live up to 50 or 60 years old. After that, when you look at the remaining Imams, you see that their lifespans are cut much shorter. And this of course highlights the tyranny of the Banu Abbas, more so really than the Banu Umayyah. You know, the Banu Umayyah were tyrants, we all agree and we all know. But yet they did not carry out such quick assassinations because of lack of, because that's what their focus was. Their both was truly on the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, more so really than the Banu Umayyah. But they were both of course tyrants and both played a significant role in the assassination of each one of our Imams. Today we're going to look at the life of the Imam, and in particular we're going to be discussing or looking at the fact that I think our second Imam is probably one of the most misunderstood Imams that we have. Misunderstood in the sense that in our minds, and maybe not your minds, but this is a trend amongst the Shia. We're not even talking about the non-Shia, we're talking about the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. That according to the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, we sometimes don't take into account seriously or value what the Imam alayhi salam did in his life. And the reason we don't value it is because we compare it to what Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did. Yeah? And because of the way Imam Hussein alayhi salam manifested his trials in the form of Karbala, we look at that as a figure of bravery, and we look at the sulh that the Imam alayhi salam, the treaty that he signed, as not something brave. Yeah? I don't think we question it to the sense that we do kufr, but I think we consider one better than the other. Yes, that this methodology that the Imam used in the battle of Karbala was superior in many minds. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way we carry out our traditions and our rituals. We gather for 40 nights, maybe consecutively, in remembering the Masa'ib of Imam al-Hussein, while the second Imam will meet one time and talk about his life. And therefore, when you take just from a mental perspective, 40 days or one day, we venerate what Imam al-Hussein did more than what we do for Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. And I think this is something that we really need to fix. Yeah. We need to clear up this in our minds and not allow it to become factual. This is something that we have to really work towards, because it's very easy to make that happen. We will say, yeah, Imam Hassan was good, but Imam Hussein was better. We have to remind ourselves that each one of them was the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? Each one of them was the hujjatullahi ala ardihi, and therefore, whatever the Imams did, however they carried out their imamat, it is something what God wanted to happen on this earth. It wasn't their own choice or their own desires. You know, it's when we try to compare what the two brothers did, it's not a real comparison. Yeah? It's not even a factual comparison that we can sit here and we can try to compare what they did. You know, when we look at their lives, we find that there were different times and different circumstances and different companions and even different enemies that they had in their two periods of imamat. You just look at, for example, the zuruf or the circumstances around the time of Imam al-Hassan alayhi afdalu salatu wa You know, when you look at the times in particular, right? So let's look at now the time of Imam al-Hassan and then understand why. We're trying to understand why he did what he did today. And by looking at why he did what we did, we're actually going to come to the conclusion that if it were not for the sulh, the treaty of Imam al-Hassan, Karbala would not have been successful. Yeah? That is the conclusion we're drawing to. The victory in Karbala, yeah? We're not looking at the battle, the victory in Karbala was set up by Imam al-Hassan and the treaty he signed with Muawiyah. Yeah? And so when you look at the times that Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam lived in, first of all, you have to remind ourselves that the Muslims had just come out of 3 civil wars. Yeah? They had the Battle of Jamal, then they had the Battle of Siffin, and then they had the Battle of Nahrawan. And then came the Shahadat of our first Imam alayhi salam, and when the second Imam came into power, or came into the Imamat, immediately Muawiyah made a big play for the caliphate, yeah, the authority. And when it was time for the Muslims to rise, there was tremendous apathy in the Muslims, tremendous apathy. Tremendous hesitation. Why? They had just come out of 3 civil wars, yeah, where they said, we don't want to fight again. And so you see that because of that thinking, yeah, not realizing, you see, this is when you can tell somebody recognizes the Imam as the Imam or as the Khalifa. Yeah? In recognizing the Imam as the Khalifa, then you can say to yourself, well, I don't think he's right, so I don't want to fight. But if you recognize him as the Imam of the time, these thoughts wouldn't come into our minds. When the Imam says stand, we stand. When the Imam says sit, we sit. No matter how long we've been standing or sitting, right? But the times at that time prevented the people from doing so. The mentality that they had was pure apathy, where there was no desire to follow the leadership of the Imam. Furthermore, when you look at the circumstances, at this time Muawiyah's web had already begun to spread within society. And because of that, this whole phenomenon of bribery and trickery and all types of spying and deceit were prevalent within the society. And to that extent, where now this spying and this trickery was not only a phenomenon that existed from the top, but it was a phenomenon that existed now amongst the people as well. Why? Because they had seen their leadership carried out for long enough. Yeah? Are you with me? This is a very important point. Today, we have our political leaders telling us that Muslims are the enemies. Yeah? Mexicans need to go back. Yeah? Blacks are criminals. Yeah? All of these things are being fed top down. Eventually, when the same message is spread top down, the grassroots will now begin to embody that as well. Muawiyah la'natullahi alayhi was a person who embodied his entire life on trickery and spying and bribery, now that circumstance or that technique had spread within the people themselves. So the people lacked that iman now. Yeah? Their iman was on bribery, their iman was on spying on each other or trickery. So now you see the circumstances of that time. You look at the companions as well. You can't even compare the companions of Imam al-Hussein to Imam al-Hassan. You can't. Yeah? The companions of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam were, to put it bluntly, they were traitors. Yeah? And we will describe how they were traitors. But they were not loyal. They were not loyal to the cause of Imam al-Hassan. They had, as we talked about, apprehension about joining the Imam. They had apathy regarding that. When you look at the companions of Imam al-Hussein, that's what we describe as loyalty. Yeah? Not a single of them flinched, though they were few in number. But the companions who were there were absolutely staunch. Right? And this is something that for us again to think about. When we reflect about history, it's important we don't just look at it as a historical event. We look to see how we can apply it to our lives. Our Imam needs 313, yeah? But 313 of what? 313 of the loyal companions, the kind Imam al-Hussein had. Yeah? Loyal, staunch, no matter what happens, they would be there to be with the Imam alayhi salam. So you look at, so far we've talked about the times of the people, the circumstances surrounding Imam al-Hassan. Even the companions of Imam al-Hassan were different, and more so, the enemy of Imam al-Hassan and Hussein were different. Yeah? Imam al-Hassan's enemy was Muawiyah. Muawiyah was an interesting human being. Whatever we say about Muawiyah, you can compare Muawiyah to a fox, yeah? Where he is smart, yeah? Very intellectual, but yet he's a fox, he's cunning. He will take whatever means necessary to get his prey. While Imam al-Hussein's enemy was Yazid, an open fasiq. Open fasiq. It was not difficult for the people to recognize Yazid as an enemy to Islam. While Muawiyah, it still brought doubt into people. Yeah? That, well, maybe he's not so bad. And this is why you see that when you take all of these circumstances together, we as human beings and we as believers cannot compare the way that Imam al-Hassan did Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar to the way Imam al-Hussein did Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. Two separate times and circumstances and environments. And this is why we have to be very careful, right? That we don't doubt. Now these doubts are not manifested anywhere. Yeah? They're not externally talked about. But these are the doubts that sometimes appear in our heads, yeah? Where we consider the end result of Imam al-Hussein to be superior than the end result of Imam al-Hassan. We sometimes do that. We sometimes rank imams. We sometimes put imams in boxes, right? Where we say the second imam, he did the sulh. Imam Hussein did Karbala. Sajjad was Bimar, was sick in Karbala. Baqir taught people. Qadim was in jail. And this is all we know about them. Yeah? And we box them into these things. But the imams were imams. Yeah? They were the proofs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single facet of life. It is our limitation which does not understand the position of the imam. There's a very beautiful hadith that will describe what Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam's viewpoint was when it comes to him signing this treaty with Muawiyah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The hadith is from Abi Sa'id Aqisa. The person's name is Abi Sa'id Aqisa. أنه قال قلت للحسن بن علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام يا ابن رسول الله. So he says, I said to Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, Ya ibn Rasulillah, lima dahanta Muawiyah wa salahtahu. He says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, why did you sign a treaty and make this deal with Muawiyah? What was the reason behind making this deal? وَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ أَنَّ الْحَقْ لَكَ دُونَهُ وَأَنَّ مُعَاوِيَةَ ضَالٌ بَاغٍ. You knew that the haqq is with you. The right is with you. It's not that you didn't doubt it, right? You knew the haqq was with you, and you knew that Muawiyah was a baghin, a dal, a person who was lost, an oppressor, a tyrant. Why did you sign this treaty with Muawiyah. فقال الإمام عليه السلام يا أبا سعيد ألست حجة الله ذكره على أرضه. The Imam brought it back to Aqidah. Imam says to him, Aba Sa'id, am I not Allah's proof on this earth? Do you accept that I am Allah's proof on this earth? وَإِمَامًا عَلَيْهِمْ بَعْدَ أَبِي, and I am the Imam of the people after my father. فَقُلْتُ بَلَى. He says, of course, I believe you to be the Imam of the people, and I believe you to be the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, أَلَسْتُ الَّذِي قَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ اللَّهُمَّ صَلِّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ أَلَسْتُ الَّذِي قَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لي ولأخي الحسن والحسين إمامان قاما أو قعدا. He says, did the Prophet not say about us that Hassan and Hussein are both imams? Whether they stand or they sit, and whether they rise to fight or whether they sit to make an agreement with somebody, they are both imams. To which he says, قالوا قلت بلى قال فأنا إذن إمام لو قمت وأنا إمام إذ لو قعدت أنا إمام. He says, so Aba Sa'id, whether I stood and fought against Muawiyah, I am the Imam of the time, or whether I made an allegiance with him, I am the Imam of the time. He says, Ya Aba Sa'id, this is the important part that I want us to pay attention to. He says, Ya Aba Sa'id, إِلَّةُ مُصَالَحَتِي لِمُعَاوِيَةِ إِلَّةُ مُصَالَحَةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ لِأَهْلِ مَكَّةِ حِينَ انصَرَفَ مِنَ الْحُدَيْبِيَّةِ. He says the reason that I signed the peace treaty with Muawiyah is the same reason that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, signed a treaty with the kuffar of the Quraysh, in the treaty of Hudaybiyah. And then he continues and he says, أُولَٰئِكَ كُفَّارٌ بِالتَّنْزِيلِ وَمُعَاوِيَةَ وَأَصْحَابُهُ كُفَّارٌ بِالتَّأْوِيلِ. He says they were kuffar bit-tanzil. Kuffar, we know what kuffar is. You know, bit-tanzil means apparent kafir. Clearly they were kafir. While Muawiyah and his companions are kuffar bit-ta'wil, meaning by their internal, they are kuffar, while externally they present to be Muslims. What is the Imam trying to say? If you're going to criticize me for signing a peace treaty with someone who claims to be Muslim, you are then as well criticizing the Prophet for signing a treaty with them for when they were kafir, apparent kafir. This is something that we have to always keep in mind and realize, right? That when people were doubting the authority of the Imam, they are in turn doubting the authority of the Prophet as well in this manner. The Imam alayhi salam continues and he says, Ya Aba Sa'id. Now this is the beautiful part, He says, so far, has the Imam given a reason? He hasn't given a reason. He's just explaining his position. He's making them realize, if you criticize me, you are criticizing the Prophet. He continues, he says, Ya Aba Sa'id, إِذَا كُنْتُ إِمَامًا مِنْ قِبَلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى ذِكْرُهُ لَا يَجِبْ أن يصفح رأيي فيما أتيته من مهادنة أو محاربة. He says that if I am the Imam of the time, and that you accept that I am the Imam of the time, you have no cause to doubt what I do, whether I sign a treaty or I fight Muawiyah. You have no cause, not even no cause, la yajibu, you have no right to doubt what I am doing. And then he further begins to explain that just the way Musa could not understand what Khidr did, the same way you will never understand what I did. It is not in your ability to do so. Here, my brothers and sisters, the reason for mentioning this hadith is because there will come a time very soon, inshallah, when our Imam will come. Inshallah, when Allah hasten his return. And I swear to you, there will come times and there will be circumstances when something that you and I have been doing for decades and decades and decades, and the Imam will say, no, this is not right, so you need to cut it out. Will we be like these people and try to find a reason with what the Imam is doing? Or are we going to be like the people that the Imam wanted us to be? Accept the fact that he is the Imam, be quiet and do what he says. Yeah? This is something that I think we lack. We lack. You know, we started this subject with servitude in the beginning night. And we said servitude means letting go of my desires for the desires of God. The desire of God is likewise the desire of what the Imam of his time wants. We have to be very careful that if we are a community who is divisive, we are a community that doesn't get along with others, we are a community that is not looking to see how we can work together with other communities without causing fasad, without criticizing, without labeling. If we are that type of community, we are not setting ourselves up to be those who will easily accept the words of what the Imam has to say. Today it's a sad state of affairs that throughout the world you see that the Shias, who are the victims of most of the violence of the world, yet the Shias themselves are so disunited. So dysfunctional. So dysfunctional. Where you have groups calling ulama al-haq while others are ulama al-batil. How can we as human beings, who are not even an alim, call other ulama haq and batil? How can we call people and criticize people who are of this camp and we label people so easily? If we are these type of people who can't even unite within ourselves when we have everything in common, subhanallah, it upsets me. It really does. Because we have everything in common with one another. Everything. Yet we can't unite. We have a problem in uniting. I swear this is going to trickle into when the Imam comes. Because we will not like what the Imam has to say. We will not be able to appreciate what the Imam has to say and submit to what the Imam wants from us. So when you come back to this sulh, this treaty that the Imam ﷺ signed, there's something to learn from this. I can't blame this person for asking this question. I can't, right? Because it was something that was difficult for the Ummah to comprehend at that time. You have a taghut like Muawiyah, you have somebody pious like Imam al-Hasan. Why is he signing this treaty with such a terrible person, right? It's confusing. But for our end, we now have the benefit of history, where we know that the Imam has explained and we have seen these type of things before. It's not a surprise. Imam al-Rida alayhi afdalu salatu wa became the heir apparent of Ma'mun. He agreed to join the government of Ma'mun. Right? Imam al-Hasan signing the peace treaty is something else. Joining the government is something else. Right? Yet we believe that they were the Imams. We have in our history seen everything, right? It shouldn't be a surprise for us now that when the Imam comes and he does something that boggles our mind, boggles our mind. Or when the Imam comes and does something which we don't understand, the fact that we have learned history, the fact that we have history on our side should prevent us from making the same mistakes that the Ashab made when they were with the Imams of the time. We have to learn history. We have to talk about history. We have to dissect it in a way where we apply relevance to our day-to-day lives. When you look at the circumstances, we describe them. We describe the loyalty of the companions. Let's look at some specific incidences to really show us the mazlumiyat of Imam al-Hasan. Sometimes we don't realize the oppression that the Imam had to go through, the difficulty that the Imam ﷺ had to go through. It is said after the martyrdom of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam ascended the pulpit in Kufa and he began to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he began to praise the Prophet, and then he began to praise Imam Ali. And it's a very beautiful statement. For the sake of time, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but after he described the Imam and what a loss the Ummah had just endured in the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam, he then began to remind the people of his own status. That he is the grandson of the Prophet. He is the one whom the Prophet said that Hassan and Hussein are Imams. He is the one whose house the Quran was revealed in. And after he described himself, Abdullah bin Abbas, his cousin, Yeah? The son of Ibn Abbas stands up and reminds the people that this is the next best man in this world after his father, Imam Ali, so come and pay your allegiance to him. Immediately the people of Kufa come one by one and pay their allegiance to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. The bay'ah to Imam al-Hasan is given, and thus Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam becomes the next Khalifa of the people. Right? He becomes the next person of authority as far as the people is concerned. When Muawiyah hears that people have now given bay'ah to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, his first steps are to begin to send spies within the city of Kufa to try and find out what the Imam is doing, and furthermore to bring fasad and difficulties into the reign of the Imam by doing things to bring fasad. It is said that Imam al-Hasan and the government of that time were able to identify those who were spies. Many were arrested and many were also thrown into prison, or even many were assassinated at that because of that crime of spying. Then Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam writes a letter to Muawiyah, and he says the following to Muawiyah. He says, you sent men to use deception and to carry out assassinations, and you sent out spies as if you want to meet me in battle. Yeah? The Imam is a very how do we say it? Imam's throwing the smackdown here. Yeah? He's not playing around. Okay? He's not playing around. We often think that, right? That the Imam bichara borata. No, yeah? He's the son of Haydar al-Karrar. Yeah? You know, they say that in the Battle of Siffin, the Imam al-Hasan was able to penetrate the army of Muawiyah to the point of almost reaching the camp of Muawiyah. Next to the Imam was Muhammad bin Hanafiya, who is also the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He turns to his father. He says, my father, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, how come I can't fight like that? Yeah? He says, when I penetrate the army, I am brought back quickly, but Hassan's able to go right through. The Imam looks at Muhammad bin Hanafiya and he says, Muhammad, know one thing. You are my son. This is the son of Fatima to Zahra. So Imam wasn't somebody who didn't want to fight. Imam wasn't somebody who was scared to fight. We have to get these misconceptions out of our heads. Yeah, Imam was the bravest one at that time. Absolutely, we can say confidently, right? So the Imam alayhi salam says, it sounds like you want to meet me in battle, Muawiyah. Yeah, the way you are acting. And he says, that is something which will soon happen. So wait for it, if Allah wills. I have learned that you have become haughty, arrogant, in a way that no wise man would become arrogant. Yeah? The Imam sends this letter, that you are acting in a brash manner, Muawiyah. You're not acting like a person who claims to be the wise man that you are. It is said, Muawiyah, at this time, a series of letters begin to be exchanged between Muawiyah and Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. It concludes to the point where Muawiyah rises for battle. Yeah? So here we're talking about the Imam is in Kufa. Here Muawiyah is coming from Sham. Muawiyah advances until he reaches a place called Manjib. And when he reaches a place called Manjib, it is at this time now that the Imam knows that he's close enough, so the Imam now rises to go for battle as well. Okay? So this is again before the Sulh is signed. The Imam is now ready to go to battle with Muawiyah. But let's look at who comprises the army or the battle or the army of the Imam alayhi salam. In the army of the Imam alayhi salam, you have people who are the true followers of his father, the Shia of Ali. Yeah? But of course the Shia of Ali have always been few in number. Yeah? They shouldn't surprise us. This is why the Imam again only wants 313. Those are the true Shias. The Imam only had 72 in Karbala. Those were the true Shias, right? So the Shias will always be few in number. So the Imam in his army had the loyal Shias of his father. Then he also had the Khawarij in his army. Okay? The Khawarij were again who? Yeah? Same people who killed Imam Ali. Right? But here, their motivation was what? Their motivation was to get the blood of Muawiyah. Remember, the original plan of the Khawarij was to what? Assassinate Imam Ali and assassinate Muawiyah simultaneously, right? Because they signed or they agreed in Siffin the way they shouldn't have agreed. You remember this, right? So now the Khawarij are in this not because they want to defend the Imam, they want the blood of Muawiyah. That means their intention is not with the Imam alayhi salam. So realize that. The other people who were with the army were those who were interested only in the booty that was available. Right? The spoils of war. Whatever the spoils of war were, that was their intention. The other people who were tribal supporters who only were in there because their tribal leaders were there. Right? So again, these people are people who we would say had no backbone. They had no commitment to that. Their leaders were there, so they were forced to join with them as well. And then of course you had those who doubted whether he was the Khalifa or Muawiyah was the Khalifa. This is something, this doubt or this confusion still is prevalent within many of our Muslims today. Where you ask them who, they will say, well, Sayyidina Hassan or Sayyidina Muawiyah. Yeah? It is this absolute ridiculousness where you can't have both of them Sayyidina, right? It's one or the other. We have to kind of remind them about these type of things. The Imam alayhi salam, when he is advancing with his army, now before I continue, the Imam while he rises, he first sends, according to certain historical accounts, a battalion or an army of 12,000 people go ahead. And the 12,000 people who go ahead are under the captainship of his own cousin by the name of Ubaydullah bin Abbas. Again, the son of Ibn Abbas, another one, was given the rank of being the commander of that army to go. The Imam has these people with him, the people that I have mentioned. Through that journey, the Imam ﷺ wanted to test their iman. Okay? The Imam ﷺ wanted to see their loyalty. So he gives this following speech. I think there's something for us to think about in there, you know. I really fear, personally, you know, that the way I practice my religion, it can't be because of my attachment to rituals. It has to be because of my attachment to God. Okay? There's a difference between these two, right? That's why sometimes, you know, it's very difficult to talk to people who have an emotional attachment to religion, right? For example, someone's dire attachment to the alam, for example, right? Where their iman is based on that alam. So you can never talk about the alam, right? People whose iman is in zanjir, so you can never talk about zanjir, right? People's iman is in matam. So these are subjects that we don't touch upon because their emotional attachment is on that. We have to make sure that our attachment is to God, right? Not rituals. Because there will come a time when the Imam comes and what if the rituals we're doing is not what he wants us to do, right? So he'll test us. And here, you see that the Imam ﷺ tests, right? Now I don't want to leave this hanging. There's nothing wrong with being attached to alams or matams or things like that. As long as I am intellectually attached to them, right? As long as I'm intellectually attached to them, not just pure emotionally attached to them. There's a big difference between these two. Yeah, I hope we're with me to understand exactly what I'm trying to say here, right? So the Imam ﷺ begins to test the people, and he says, by God, I hope that I shall always be with God's praise and kindness. Yeah. So he first praises Allah, and then he praises the Prophet and everything, and then he says, by Allah, I hope that I will always be in God's praise and kindness. That's a very confusing statement for people. Like, what do you mean you hope you will always be? Yeah? Do you doubt that you will do something? But you have to remember the Imam whenever the Imams speak, they never take their iman for granted. Yeah? They always realize it is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thus they always ask God to protect their iman. They always ask God to guide them on the right path. So many of our du'as were taught by the Imams ask for these things. Guide us on the right path. And people will say, were they not on the right path? And this is of course a misunderstanding, right? This is a dua that everyone has to make because we are all servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Imam says, by God, I hope that I shall always be with God's praise and kindness. I am the sincerest of God's creatures in giving advice to them. I have not become one who bears malice to any Muslim. And listen to this, yeah? He says, I am not one to bear any malice to any Muslim, nor one who wishes evil or misfortune for them. Yani I don't have a desire to go and fight Muawiyah. Yeah? The reason being is because these are Muslims. This is why even the Imam alayhi salam, our first Imam, didn't want to fight Muawiyah. Yeah? Because we were fighting Muslims at this time. This was something which was terrible for the Imam. It wasn't something which was easy for the Imam. Even if they were kuffar bit ta'wil, internally kuffar, yet they are the presence of Muslims. This is why our Maraja till today tell us never to do takfir. Never to call somebody a kafir. Yeah? They may call us kafir, but we have been instructed never to call them kafir. Why? Because bit ta'wil, they are pretending to be Muslims. We give them the benefit of the doubt, right? The Imam alayhi salam says, I don't wish any evil on these people, right? Indeed, he says, what you dislike about unity. This is something that is really relevant for the people who caused this unity in our community. He says, indeed, what you dislike about unity is better for you than what you like about division. This is deep, yeah? You want to repeat it again? I'll repeat it again. Yeah? He says, indeed, what you dislike about unity, yeah? The things that you don't like about all of us being together. I don't like the way he does matam, I don't like the way the marja he likes, I don't like this, I don't like that. What you don't like about unity is actually better for you than what you like about division. I like that I can come to my own mosque and do matam the way I do matam. That's what I like. And I don't like that when others come, we do matam differently, for example. The Imam says the unity is better for you than disunity. Yeah. This is something that I think is really important for us to understand. The jama'ah, the unity, is actually better for you even if you don't like it than what you like about being disunited. This is really deep. Yeah? This is amazing what the Imam alayhi salam is trying to teach us about the importance of jama'ah. This is why, and I'm going on random tangents here because I think they're important for historical context and relevance, that you will find that our ulama will agree to the fact that what is most important is that which is best for the ummah, not what is best for the individual. Okay? Anything that is good for me, but if it is bad for the ummah, it is bad. It shouldn't be done. An example here, for example, is gambling or drinking alcohol. Right? Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran that there is benefits to gambling and drinking alcohol, yet the negativities outweigh the benefits. Right? And so I have made it haram. I'm paraphrasing, but it's exactly what he says in the Quran. Yeah? That there is fa'idah in these, but there is more harm in them. So I'm making it haram. That means that for some people, they may be able to function while drinking alcohol. There may be some people who are able to live a life and be financially secure through gambling. But the greater people, the mass of the people, majority of the people would not be able to do so. So the whole time it's haram for everybody. Right? The jama'ah always supersedes the individual. Always. Okay? And this is a concept that the Imam alayhi salam was trying to teach the people, that look, we are going into this battle, but I want you to know that the jama'ah is more important, and that's what I am striving for. And the Imam continues, and the aim of the Imam was to test their loyalty, and it worked, because immediately after the speech of the Imam alayhi salam, the people now began to get confused. People began to whisper amongst themselves that what is he saying, right? And a group of people actually considered the Imam to have become an unbeliever. Yeah? They accused him of being a kafir because he was not firm in fighting these people, right? But the Imam was portraying to the people, making them realize that this is something that is detestable to me. We're still going forward, but this is not something I look forward to. When the people, now their true colors were being shown, history tells us some very tragic events now happened. They attacked the tent of the Imam. Now this is the army that the Imam was marching with. They attacked the tent of the Imam. They steal, for example, some of the things that they stole was they snatched off his abah from his shoulders. They steal his prayer mat, until that event where one person in that takes a dagger and stabs the Imam alayhi salam. where a dagger was stabbed into the leg of the Imam alayhi salam. This is the level of disloyalty, yeah, that the Imam alayhi salam faced, where his own army now attacks the Imam alayhi salam. The Imam was taken to what is known as Madain. Madain, as we know, is very famous for where Mukhtar is from. And he was taken to the house of Thaqafi, the house of Sa'ad bin Mas'ud, a relative of Mukhtar, and that is where he was kept. For those who watch the serial of Mukhtar, that's where it begins from. The Imam comes to the Madain, and that is where the beginning of that serial starts, and the whole story after that. That army, yeah, so in this side, those who are traveling with the Imam turned and attacked the Imam because they believed the Imam had become disloyal or had become an unbeliever. The 12,000 army that was sent forward under the command of Ubaydullah bin Abbas, when he reaches the battlefield, Muawiyah bribes Ubaydullah bin Abbas. This is a cousin of Imam al-Hasan. Bribes him with 1 million dirham. And he is able to turn 8,000 of the 12,000 people and join the army of Muawiyah. Yeah. Now on both fronts, those who are traveling with the Imam became disloyal, and those who he had sent forward had become disloyal. Now you see the situation that the Imam alayhi salam was placed in. Yeah? It was a no-win situation. Now the army of Muawiyah has nearly doubled in size because of the people who had gone on that side. And those who are with the Imam alayhi salam are now just a few people who are there who are truly loyal. What ends up happening now is that the people who had turned against Imam al-Hasan, yeah, people who had stabbed him and stolen his belongings, they write letters to Muawiyah. And they say to Muawiyah that we give our allegiance to you, and if you want, we will bring you the head of Hassan. Yeah? They offer, yeah, to bring the head of Imam al-Hasan. Now here is something that you really see the colors of Muawiyah. Muawiyah writes a letter to Imam al-Hasan, and in that letter he attaches all of these letters, yeah? And he says to him, look, you have no one left now, yeah? I am giving you a way out, yeah? That we sign this peace treaty, right? And in this peace treaty, whatever you want to stipulate, I am willing to agree to those stipulations, right? There's a saying here that I want to read of the Imam. The Imam says, by God, I have not submitted the authority to Muawiyah. However, I have not found supporters. Yeah? That I didn't just willingly give him this authority, but I have nobody to support me. If I had supporters, I would have fought him day and night until God judges between us. Same thing with Imam Ali. Yeah? That how come Imam Ali, yeah, did not fight Abu Bakr? Yeah? He didn't have supporters. Yeah? Let's be very real. Yeah? It's said that Imam said, if you are interested in fighting, come to my house with shaved heads in the morning. Only 6 people showed up to the house of Imam Ali. All those people who said, Labbaik ya Hussein, Labbaik ya Ali, nobody showed up. Yeah? Nobody showed up. Right? Imam Hassan alayhi salam says, if I had supporters, I would have fought him day and night until God judges between us. But he says, I know the people of Kufa. Yani I know the characteristics of the people of Kufa. The corrupt among them will never reform, the Imam says, would not reform. They say that their hearts are with us, but indeed their swords are turned against us. The Imam alayhi salam finds himself now in this situation where he has absolutely no choice but to sign a treaty. Something that we as believers have to keep in mind, okay? When the treaty is signed, the Imam is not handing over imamat. He's handing over khilafat. Yeah? There's a tremendous difference. Yeah? The imamat is Allah's to give. And Imam alayhi salam, just because he handed over the khilafat, he's not ending the imamat. Okay? He's ending over just this worldly authority that he was so after. Part of the treaties, part of the conditions we should know about. He said, part of the conditions is you will stop the cursing of my father from your mosques. Yeah? Part of the conditions is that you will follow the Quran and the Sunnah. The most important of these, or one of the most important of these that the Imam says, he says that after you die, Muawiyah, the authority or the khilafat will come back to me. And if something, if something has happened to me, then this authority will come back to my brother Hussein. Yani this authority will not remain in your family after this. This was the stipulations that were set out by Muawiyah. It is said as soon as Muawiyah signs this treaty, he places it under his feet and says, this is what this treaty is worth for me. Right? We say this whole story why? Because to understand the reality behind why Imam al-Hasan signed the treaty. But more than that, right? Once Muawiyah backed away from the agreement that he had stipulated to himself, it became apparent to the people who Muawiyah truly was. The true colors of Muawiyah were now shown to the people. The fact that he went against the Quran and the Sunnah. The fact that Muawiyah openly attacked Muslim cities. The fact that Muawiyah played a role in killing Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And most importantly, you can say the straw that broke the camel's back is that when Muawiyah left this world, he passed that authority to his son Yazid. And now, because of these reasons, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam had both political and social justifications to rise against Muawiyah. People would never be able to say that this was him just because he wanted power. It would never be so. Because this was a man who was now doing amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar because of the violations of Muawiyah to the treaty he had signed with the Imam alayhi salam. It gave justification. It gave validation for what Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did. And this is something that we owe to Imam al-Hasan. We owe this, yeah? That as much as we sit here and we remember Imam al-Hussein, and we have to realize that Karbala would not have happened and would not have been successful had Imam al-Hasan not signed this treaty and shown the world the true colors of Muawiyah. This is why till today, our Sunni brothers and sisters have a very difficult time. It's not difficult for them to, when it comes to Imam al-Hussein and Yazid, it's not difficult for them. Because it's very hard to side with Yazid. But when it comes to Imam al-Hasan and Muawiyah, because their true colors are shown, it becomes, they have to cut so many corners to try and justify what Muawiyah did, because it's apparent. Everybody knows the true colors of Muawiyah. I want to end with something. How do we relate this into our lives? You know, America is about to go through an elections on Tuesday. And the number of people who have told me that we have to take the example of Imam al-Hussein and not stand for taghuts, and oppose taghuts, and not vote for anybody because they're both taghuti. We can't limit our vision just to Imam al-Hussein. Look at Imam al-Hasan. Imam al-Hasan signed a treaty with the greatest taghut of that time. Why? Because he knew there would come a time when that step would create a movement later which would bring the downfall of those who are oppressors. We have to take the message and the methodology of all of our imams, not just one of the imams. Because each circumstance was different. We have to take the message of Imam al-Hasan and the treaty that he signed with the person who he knew was a fasiq. Because he knew that that treaty would serve a greater interest for the Muslims. And we too have to do that. I'm not saying who to vote for, but I'm saying go out, participate. Participate in this. This is our country, and this will inshallah bring a movement. If we vote correctly, it will bring a movement which will see a better situation for Muslims, inshallah, as times to come. Salawat ala Muhammad. It is said that there were numerous attempts on the life of the Imam. We described one where his own army attacked the Imam alayhi salam. It is said that on 2 other occasions poison was given to the Imam alayhi salam, but on this last occasion, his wife Ju'da, Ju'da was contacted by Muawiyah and was said that if you apply and give poison to Hassan, we will give you a certain amount of money and then we will make you or allow you to marry Yazid. And you will become the queen after I am gone. It is said on this day, a day in the month of Muharram, the Imam alayhi salam sat and to break his fast. And when he sat to break his fast, the wife Ju'da brings him a glass of milk. It is said as soon as the Imam alayhi salam took a sip of that milk, he put it down and said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The Imam knew immediately that in this glass there was poison and that this was no ordinary poison. The history tells us that people came to the Imam and said, Oh Imam, there are doctors here who can assist you with this poison. The Imam says, look, my companions, I have been poisoned before numerous times, but I recognize that this is not ordinary poison that has affected me. There are no doctors who can cure what I am going through. It is said the Imam lasted in this stage of poisoning and suffering for weeks on end. They say the Imam vomited until parts of his body were vomiting out. They say in history that one day Zainab alayhi salam came to the house of Imam al-Hasan. When the Imam heard that Zainab was there, he said, take this bucket away so that she does not see what I have gone through. As she sat with the Imam again had to go and vomit. It is said when Zainab saw how the Imam was vomiting, she said, Wa musibata, wa Muhammada. The Imam alayhi salam, Allah must have consoled her and said, Zainab, do not worry at this time, because there will come a time when you will have to see so much more, Zainab. So much more. It is said Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam came to visit Imam al-Hassan numerous times. Every time he would look at Imam al-Hassan, tears would come down his face. Imam al-Hassan would say to him, Ya akha, la tahzan alayya, fa inna musabaka a'zam min musibati, la yawm ka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah. He says, Oh Hussein, do not cry, for your musibah will be much worse than my musibah. What you will go through will be far worse than what I will go through. There is no day like your day, O Hussein. It is that Imam alayhi salam brought his brother Hussein next to him. He gave him his wasiyah. Part of his wasiyah was that, O Hussein, after you give ghusl and janazah to my body, take my body to the grave of Rasulullah and bury me next to our grandfather. But O Hussein, if anyone comes and opposes you, if anyone resists, do not fight, O Hussein. Do not unleash your sword. It is said in this way, the Imam alayhi salam took his last breath. Rahimallahu man nada wa imama wa madluma. The Imam has left this world. It is said they cried that day as if the Prophet had left this world. The entire city of Medina was in tears at the loss of Imam. His brother Hussein gave the ghusl on the body, applied the hunud, and then they did the kafan. They then carried the body of Imam al-Hassan towards the grave of Rasulullah. Wa wayla. But then there came the enemies of Islam and refused the Imam to be buried there. But they did not just refuse, my brothers and sisters. You know what they did? They shot arrows at the body and janazah of Imam al-Hassan. Wa Hasana. It is said that nearly 70 arrows fell on the body of the Imam. We say, Oh my Imam, these are the enemies shooting arrows at your janazah while life has left your body. But come with us to Karbala, where the Imam, while still alive, they were shooting at his body. Arrows that pierced the body Shiva. Imam al-Hasan, it grieved him that he could not be there to support Imam al-Hussein. But he gave 3 of his children to come and support him. And the one who was the most shabi was Qasim bin al-Hasan. It is said on the day of Ashura, Qasim comes to Imam al-Hussein. He says, "Oh my uncle, allow me to go." Imam looks at Qasim. It is said Imam says, "Oh Qasim, your father would not have approved." It is said the Imam alayhi salam kept turning Qasim back until Qasim went to his mother. It is said Ramla says, "Oh Qasim, why are you still here? Why haven't you fulfilled the wishes of your father?" He replies back, "Oh Amma, that he will not allow me to go." At this time they say she remembered a letter that was given to her by Imam al-Hasan, a letter which was said to her, "Oh Ramla, there will come a time when you will be in extreme difficulty. At this time, give this letter to my brother Hussein." It is said Qasim now comes with this letter. The Imam knows what is about to happen. The Imam, it is said, opens this letter. The letter says, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. This is your brother Hassan. It pains me, it hurts me that I cannot be there for you. Accept this sacrifice of my children." فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون ولا عاقبة